Hi class, welcome to the mock interview questions part one. This is Professor Jimenez. This video is going to talk about the first wave of questions that you will be using to prepare yourself for the mock interview. Now for the mock interview, you may be asked any of these questions at any time. So what my goal is in this video is to go through some of the standard questions and give you some of the standard answers that you may want to consider to help you in your answering of any questions during the mock interview. There are 25 different questions that may arise at any given time. And what will happen is I will go through the first, in this case, I'm going to try to go through the first 14 questions because many of them are going to have the same answers, believe it or not. And that is, in every question that you are asked, you should consider the following three things. What element of your experience, education, or skill that you have that you want to bring up to highlight you in the best possible way? So let me rephrase that in a way that's a little bit more simple. When somebody asks you a question in a mock interview or in a real interview, there's many ways you can answer it, but there are three elements that you may want to consider using in all of your answers. And many of them, it's going to be your education, your skill, and your experience, your work experience. These elements, education, work experience, and skill, are going to help you in, again, not only differentiating yourself, but in also giving your interviewer a glimpse about who you are in the most positive way possible. So the first question that you're going to come across is, tell me about yourself. Now again, this is based on the elevator speech that you all have been working on during week 5. When somebody says, tell me about yourself, or tell me a little bit about who you are, it's the same thing as tell me about yourself. This is where you should bring up, again, who you are and include a little bit about your education, your experience, and skill. So you could say, for example, my name is Roberto Jimenez and I am a student at Mildred Ellie. I will be graduating with my degree as a LPN at the end of May, and I am looking for a job at your facility where I can use my skills in the nursing field and take care of my patients. I also have 10 years of experience in the medical field that I can bring as part of my experience, and more importantly, I'm somebody who is, I'm a people person. I get along with others. I'm very organized, and I'm also somebody who is a fast learner. So that's one example. Now, if experience is not something that you have, you can simply change some of the wording and say, hi, my name is Roberto Jimenez. I am a medical student at Mildred Ellie. I'll be graduating with my LPN degree at the end of May. And although I am new to this field, I am somebody who is a fast learner, somebody who has been going to school to learn how to be an LPN, and more importantly, I've been getting the experience I need through my coursework and through my experiences in my internship and or any volunteer activities that you may want to highlight. So the point is, folks, it doesn't matter whether you have a lot of experience or not, you can always answer, tell me about yourself, in a couple of different ways. Notice what I did. Throughout all my explanations, I included my education, which the fact that I graduated from Mildred Ellie. I included my skills, a couple skills, such as being organized, being a people person, and I also included my experience where relevant. So make sure that you include these as part of your answers. That's the first question. Second question is, why do you want to work here? Or you may be asked, what about our company or our hospital interests you? Well, in this case, why do you want to work there? Well, because again, the answer that I would use is, you guys have a great reputation. You take care of your community. You take care of a diverse set of patients here in New York City, and I would like to be a part of that. Again, this is why I'm going to school. I'm I'm learning to become a medical professional as an LPN, and I plan on using these skills um, to work at your store, at your location, at your hospital, um, or I can leverage my skills as an LPN, medical assistant, etc. Why should we hire you? Well, again, I have the education, I have the experience in terms of my coursework, in terms of my work experience, and I have the skills to be successful in this job. Um, you can also say, for example, look, I have a lot of experience working with people, working with patients, working with a variety of different people in different contexts. Um, Again, if you are somebody who speaks more than one language, you should say, look, why should we hire you? Look, I speak two languages. I speak English and Spanish. I speak English and Creole. I would be an asset to not only to you, but to the community that we serve or to the customers that we serve. Another question that you get is, are you willing to work overtime? The standard answer is yes. The reason is you never want to say no because that could be a turnoff for employers. Now, there's a way to qualify that so that you're not stuck working overtime. If you can't, you could say, I am willing to work overtime with advance notice so I can make the appropriate arrangements. Okay? In addition to that, if you get a question around why did you leave your last job, be honest. Tell them, look, I left my job because they were reorganizing or they restructured, so I left. Another example that people may use when they left their last job is because I'm getting my education and I wanted to focus on getting my education and schooling to become an LPN, to become a medical assistant, so that I can enter and be in this field. If you were fired from a job, again, this typical answer that you could use is say, look, um, again, the company, the hospital restructured, reorganized, um, and and I used it as an opportunity to come back to school and further my education, um, so that I can again be better suited to work in this environment. The point is, don't lie. And also, never say anything like, well, I got fired because my boss hated me or I didn't get along with my coworkers. Never say that. Do not say that. Because that to me raises red flags in terms of, well, if you had problems with other people or your boss didn't like you, um, why is that? And that can lead down a very deep end that you will not be able to recover from. So, again, why did you leave your last job? Either it's you left because you were going to school to further your education, or you left so that, I mean, due to a reorganization, due to a restructuring, um, and that is why I left the job. What are your best skills? Again, this is where you talk about, you know, two or three of the skills that you should have by now listed in your assignments from way back when in week 1 and 2. Remember way back when I asked you what are your strengths? Well, this is where you can bring those up. What are your best skills? Well, say what they are. Again, I'm a people person. I'm organized. I know how to work with difficult customers or patients. I am a fast learner. These are the things that people want to hear. Again, don't make things up. Use skills that are relevant to you that you can use to show how you are different from others. Question number 7. Tell me about a professional obstacle that you encountered in the past and what did you do to overcome it? The example that you use isn't so much important as it is how you overcame the situation. So, for example, I could turn around and say, look, I was working at Mildred College, and in the beginning, I had some trouble with the computer system because it wasn't something that I was familiar with, and I needed to learn how to use it quickly. So what did I do to overcome it? Well, I sat down with my supervisor. I learned the system. I practiced after work. I, spent time and asked my colleagues during lunch to help me get familiar with the system. The point is, you want to use an example that shows that you overcame it. So think of an example where you actually overcame the issue. If it's an issue that you have not been able to resolve, don't bring it up. Use an example that you can talk to. Another example could be, for example, um, one obstacle that I had was in initially was I wasn't able to find the vein correctly when I was trying to extract blood from the patient. However, with practice during class, I stayed afterwards and practiced with my classmates and other colleagues. I was able to gain the experience and the knowledge that I needed so that I could become comfortable and ultimately succeed in being able to draw blood properly from a patient. So again, it's all about showing how you succeeded and what you had to do to get there. What is your major weakness? There's a reason why, which is the next question. Question number 8. What is your major weakness? This is why I asked you way back in week 1 and 2, tell me about at least 2 weaknesses. I want you to pick one. Pick one that you can talk to and say, look, a weakness of mine is, sometimes I work too hard. But what I try to do, again, it's not just about saying what the weakness is. It's about how are you overcoming it. So if the weakness is I work too hard and I spend a lot of time doing overtime because I want to do what's best for my patients, but what I'm doing to make sure that I'm not overworking myself or overstressing myself is I work with my leader. I work with my supervisor to make sure that I'm doing the right things at the right time with my patients, customers, etc. Another weakness I've seen brought up sometimes is where people talk about, look, sometimes I don't like to delegate or to give tasks to other people. So what I am doing is I am working with my supervisor to learn how to delegate and how to give the responsibility to others and hold people accountable. The point is you want to show that you know how to work with others so that you are overcoming your weaknesses. Question number 9, do you prefer to work by yourself or with others? There's only one correct answer here, folks. Do you prefer to work with yourself or with others? The answer is you prefer to work with others. You are in fields, whether it's a paralegal or it's in the medical field. You're going to be working with people. It's a trick question, okay? You are going to be working with other people. So to say, do you prefer to work with yourself or with others? The answer should be, I prefer to work with others. That's how you get things done. So make sure that you answer that one correctly. Do you prefer to work with yourself or with others? I prefer to work with others because we get more done together as a team than by my doing things on my own. Okay? Question number 10. What are your career goals? What are your future plans? Now, there's 2 ways you can answer this. You could say, as part of your discussion, look, my plan right now is to get this job as an LPN, as a medical assistant, as a paralegal, and learn the job and do the best job that I can as a paralegal, medical assistant, etc. So the answer is, one way that you can answer it is, your immediate future plan is to be the best that you can be at the job that you are applying for. Now, for some folks, they may want to show the fact that they have aspirations to become, to go for their master's or go for for more advanced degrees, such as a nurse practitioner, or maybe a paralegal wants to become a lawyer, for example. Some folks like to hear that because it shows that you have growth and you have plans and ambition. I would say the safest answer is to simply say, look, right now my immediate goal for my career is to get this job and become the best that I can in this role. If you choose to go down the path of talking about how you want to get an advanced degree or an advanced certificate or go for further schooling, you can say that, but also highlight it with, but in the meantime, my immediate career goal is to, again, succeed in my current job that I will have with you if you hire me. With that, question number 11, what are your hobbies? Do you play any sports? The answer is pick a hobby, have a hobby. It can be cooking, going to church, playing football, basketball, maybe it's walking, jogging. The point is have a hobby. Decide what it is, you can share it with them. People want to hear that you do other things, you have other interests. What salary are you expecting? Now, this is a double-edged sword. This is also a trick question. When you are asked in a job interview, what is your salary? The answer that you should always give is, I should be paid based on my experience, education, and skill. One more time. When you are asked how much should you be paid or what salary are you expecting, you should say, I expect to be paid based on my experience, education, and skill. Do not give them a number. Okay? What you want them to do is to give you, once they give you the job and they show you what the salary is, then you can negotiate. But if you say to them, for example, I'm looking for $40,000, for example, and they were willing to pay you 45, guess what they're going to do? They're going to give you the 40 because that's what you asked for. So this is why you never tell them up front what your salary requirement is. You say, I should be paid based on my experience, education, and skill. Question number 13. What can you do for us that someone else can't do? Again, this is where you bring up your education, your experience, and your skills. Say again, look, I've gone to school to become a medical assistant, paralegal, an LPN. I have completed all my courses. I'm able to do phlebotomy, EKG. I'm able to provide patient care. I bring all of these things from my schooling. I also have this in my experience as well based on my previous jobs. And if you don't have experience, you can say, look, I bring a wealth of experience in terms of working with others based on my previous work experience. And in addition, I'm loyal, I'm a people person. Again, bring up your education, your skills, and your experience as part of your answer in terms of what can you do for us? Because again, it's about you showing that you have these things and that you are different from others. What qualifications do you have that relate to this position? Again, if it's medical, you should bring up the words phlebotomy, EKG. You can say, again, you have practice in terms of patient's care. Talk about these things and how you learn these things at Mildred Ellie. If you have these as part of your work experience, you should bring that up as well. What qualifications you have for this position should be the things that you learned. If you're a paralegal, you should bring up the fact that you practice doing torts. You've practiced doing research. You've written documents. Again, tell them what you learned in school. That's what you should be saying. The last question I want to highlight today is question number 15 before I end this video. And that is, give me an example from a previous job where you've shown initiative. Now this one can be a variety of different things. This is where you want to show that not only do you do your job, but maybe there was something that you solved. Maybe there was a problem that you encountered and you were able to fix it. For example, I noticed, in my previous job as a medical assist, in the medical field, I found myself, having trouble finding a lot of the supplies because things weren't organized. So I took it upon myself to make sure that our supplies were stocked, they were organized, they were labeled so that people could find them. The point is, it can be anything, whether it's fixing a problem, whether it's solving an issue, or maybe solving a problem for a patient or a customer. If you're a paralegal, you could turn around and say, well, in my last job, I noticed that our computer systems, the way that we were saving things was very disorganized. So in order to make things better, I set up a new filing system where we were able to rename our files so that we could easily find them and easily track our case records. The point is, come up with something that you've done in your previous job to show that you can take initiative, that you know not only how to do the job, but that you are willing to take initiative on it. So those are at least the first 15 questions that I wanted to highlight for you today. Um, Go back, review this video, listen to the questions, write down the answers, and again, customize it to meet your needs with your education, experience, and skills. With that, look forward to part 2 of this next week during week 7. Thanks again, guys.